All right, great. So welcome. I am Mary Reid Munford. I'm the admissions coordinator. I've emailed with at least somebody in each of your families, I believe, or maybe you. um, I'm the admissions coordinator, and I'm also a former traveling school teacher. I taught in Southern Africa, and I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm a couple hours ahead of y'all, I think. I think most of y'all are, well, anyway, and at least two of you are in Montana, I think. Jennifer?
And I'm Jennifer Royall. I'm the head of school, executive director, and I was also a teacher back in the day, back in 2003. And I'm in Bozeman as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with you all and getting to know your questions.
Um, all right, I'm gonna just call on y'all briefly and just say name, where you're coming from, parent or student. Miriam.
Hi, I'm Ursula, and it's my mom, Miriam. I live in Big Sky, Montana. I'm a student and I'm looking for tour ahead in the future for going to a semester.
Nice. Yeah, good to put a face to the name. Matthew?
Yeah, Matthew. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm a father of a child who's interested in the traveling school. What else do you want to know? That it?
That's it. Sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and then Lee. Oh, there you go.
I'm Lee Work. This is one of my twin daughters, Madison. Chloe's not feeling well. And we're in Bozeman, Montana, trying to stay warm.
Nice. Great. Well, thank y'all. It's great to have y'all here tonight. And we're recording this for others. I know there's a handful of folks who couldn't make it. So, our agenda tonight. First of all, you can find a lot of the information we're going to go through on our webpage. And I'm also going to copy and paste into the chat a bunch of helpful things that we're going to go through. So, essentially, there's no one route to paying for the traveling school. We often have families that are doing it a lot of different ways. And so one of the things that I really want to kind of surface tonight is being, transparent about cost and financial information, and then also providing all the different sort of ways we've had people get support in paying for this, whether it's need-based scholarships, fundraising, savings, and then a couple of other things that might be helpful. And I'm very happy we have Jennifer here because Jennifer has worked with so many different students who have done this in so many different ways. So I'm going to put these links in the chat. I'll put them at the end as well, so don't worry about it. But if you want to, take a look at any of these things, this way you can open it up when I'm going through it and figure out which of these resources are going to be the most helpful for you. I think that will work. So that's the order. So we'll start with the financial information, then go through scholarships and that process, and then fundraising and personal savings plans, and then a couple of other little ideas and options that we have. And this is the overview. I think all of you have some decent understanding about what we're all about, but just to sort of put it out there every time. We are a school for young women and non-binary students. We are ages 15 to 18, pretty much technology free. You do things like handwrite your own papers. It's amazing. And our academics are based on the places where we are traveling. So if you're in Southern Africa, you're learning from Southern Africa and the people and places around you. And we have 3 semester locations. Fall 2023 is in Southern Africa. Spring 2024 is in South America, and the Western US semester is what we've been running since COVID, and we're currently focusing on the international relaunch, but we're keeping that in our repertoire. And it doesn't really matter where we go. It's about the community and the philosophy of what we're all about. And I'll pass that to Jennifer for a second.
Yes, you've already stolen a few things I was going to say, but that's okay. So our mission is, as you can see, to amplify female voices through transformative education to ignite positive change. And, our mission is powerful. and I just want to try to express that as briefly as I can. But we create a community. We're a women-centered group. We focus on building community and engaging in communities that we travel through. So this is so different from regular high school. I know that potentially you might do something as engaging as this in your high school, or your child might. But this is 3.5 months of engaging in a place, and this place-based education is powerful. It's primary resources. It's meeting people and learning about where they're from them rather than in a book. And it really brings learning to life. We have a group of motivated students anyway. They want to break out of those high school walls that they're hemmed in by, and they want to see the world and learn from the people and places around them and from each other. And they do that. So we engage very deeply in the regions where we travel. Like Mary Reid said, it doesn't matter where they are. We found that in our own backyard in the US West, where people may have traveled, it doesn't matter. The things that we learn about those places aren't things that you normally hear in your high school. So, we've been doing this for almost 20 years, and it's powerful. It continues to be an amazing opportunity for high schoolers to kind of just grow and find their powerful voices.
Yeah. And the core tenets of each semester, or no matter where it is the experiential academics, the place-based academics we've talked about, community engagement, just like Jennifer said, both as a community of learners and young women together, and also in the communities we're going through and meeting along the way. Outdoor pursuits, and then through it all, there's this thread of transformational leadership. And just a brief slide about where we go. I think y'all probably have this at this point. Those of you that, since I kind of know where y'all are in your research. But fall in Southern Africa goes from Zambia to Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, and spring in South America goes from Ecuador to Peru to Bolivia. And last little bit before we get to the meat of what we're doing here. We are a fully accredited school. We are alternative and different, but we are also legit. We're a part of the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. We're a member of the International Coalition of Girls' Schools. We've been doing this for almost 20 years. We've worked with hundreds of high schools to transfer credit. And we have, now that our last semester just finished, this fall semester just finished, 460 alumna out in the world. And that also means we have 460 different families and people we've been working with when it comes to things like the finances. So I think we have some deep experience and real strength in our alumna and alumna families.
Yeah, and I would, before I go to finance, I would just also say that we are small. I mean, we've been going for 20 years. But we know our people and we care about you. And I think you're going to hear that when we talk about fundraising and earning and saving and payment plans and all the pieces. But we're small, and it matters to us that we stay small so that we know so we're building community right now, right? The community piece starts now.
It's pretty amazing to, have a place where your alumna names from 20 years ago, and you're like, oh yeah, they were like, one of those early semesters. We really do know people well.
Yeah, thank you. So I always get this, this is my slide. So let's just talk about the finances. We know that it's a real, it's an expensive program. Semester school programs are not cheap, but we also know that they're high quality educational experiences that you won't, like we've been saying, you don't get any other way. And it is in some ways similar to a college semester abroad, except for it's happening at a time where you're learning how to do that better. You are learning, you're away from home for a little bit. You're learning to take care of yourself and be independent away from your parents. And you're learning how to learn without them. So you're getting this opportunity to engage in and learn about yourself in a way that you don't necessarily when you're at home doing high school the way that you will the other 3.5 years. Our tuition is for the next school year is $34,680. We have an enrollment deposit, which is separate from that. It's $1,000 and it is returned at the end of the semester. It's there in case a credit card doesn't work or there's a doctor visit that we can't get covered by the student's card. And so typically we just at the end of the semester, write that check right back to you, minus any student expenses. Or apply it to the balance due if you're making payment plans. We definitely recommend spending money during the semester. We say, 25, everything's covered. Food is covered, lodging's covered, all the activities. But while a student is out, they like to sometimes go shop for themselves, get trinkets, find good, whatever snacks that they would prefer to be in charge of instead of having, how it is when you're not at home in your own refrigerator. So just having your own options for snacks and that. And we haven't raised that even in the US, and we don't really think that it's not like there's a lot of money spent by the student while they're gone. And we like it that way. Again, it's not about buying. It's not about buying and bringing a ton of stuff home because you're carrying it with you anyway. And then there's additional costs of the international flight, and the flight to a gateway city, and we book the international flight, and we'll help you to book the flight to the gateway city should you want us to, and also potentially gear, vaccinations, a passport, those pieces that you might need, and we'll talk about some options around that as well. And I guess I just want to start to say, and I want you to truly hear this is, don't let that ticket, don't get sticker shock here. Don't let that stop you from applying. I personally have seen, like Mary Reid said, hundreds of students make this happen and families. I've walked it with them. I've had 4 nieces who I've helped fundraise who went to the traveling school. Not to mention so many students, and we're gonna walk this. We're gonna help. We're gonna brainstorm. We're gonna share your ideas. So we're here, and I've seen students get a scholarship and raise all the money and give it back. I've seen other students help students. I've seen so many beautiful stories. And I would just say to the parents, this is the fundraising, the earning and saving is just as powerful as the actual semester. It's incredible because once your student realizes that they can make this happen, there's no holding them back at what they're going to do next and what they're going to say that they want to do and that they're going to make it happen. So it's just this whole mindset that I think really is real powerful. It's the beginning of the power. It's beginning of them finding it. It has to be, it's inward. So you have to have the motivation to make it happen. And we'll talk more about that when we talk about the different options for fundraising. But I've seen the magic, and it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And so, there are a few ways to sort of help you afford a semester, and we're going to kind of go by these one by one. And I'm not going to tell you everything you're going to need to know, but I'm going to try to point you to the resources so that you can get started with any of these things. And then, like Jennifer said, like, we are here to walk this with you. That is, you know, like, if you're driven and, you know, your student is excited about this and wants to make it happen, we want to work with you to try to help make it happen. So the first thing that we'll go through is the need-based scholarship system. And those are grants. Those are just scholarships to support your tuition. Then we'll talk about fundraising and savings plans. And these are ways, like Jennifer said, for the student to take some ownership over the experience. And we've seen that be really powerful in the past. Then we also have the option to do payment plans where you're paying over time. We also, and I should have put an asterisk next to 529 plans, state by state. It's a little different. So some states will allow you to use 529 college savings plans to help pay for this kind of program. And also gear. Gear is an expense. We know that. And we have a lot of gear that we can lend out and help you with, so that is not, you know, the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. So we'll start with scholarships.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So we work with a company called FACTS, FACTS, and they do their grant in aid. They have a grant in aid application for our families to use, and they also have a tuition management side if we have a payment plan. And they ask for the parents to fill out an application and to submit their tax returns from the previous year. So from last year, and W-2s from this year. And 40 to 60% of our students receive need-based scholarships during our semesters. And they range anywhere from, I mean, $2,000 to over 10 or 11. They average about $10,000, but we also have given away a few full scholarships, which is amazing and exciting. And we obviously want to do that more. So that's a possibility as well. We ask you to apply, and then we have a scholarship committee with board members and staff members, so that we can assess what FACTS recommends, and oftentimes FACTS recommends that a middle class or upper middle class family doesn't actually should not get any financial aid or scholarships. And we look at that and determine, well, we do one-on-ones, we do interviews. I call the families, and I just want to, and we ask questions actually on the application to get a sense for what's going on with you, because this outside agency is great to help us with the big picture, but it doesn't always show what's going on in your family, at your home, with your day-to-day and your finances. So part of what we do after you've done your application is set up a time to talk, especially if you request it. We also ask for details on the application so that we get to know you a little bit better. So it's not just a spreadsheet we're looking at. So it just helps bring 3 dimensions to you as opposed to just a flat picture of numbers. I just want to suggest very strongly that you get this going, because it takes time. In January, there'll be a bunch of schools that they're looking at. They work with a lot of different schools, FACTS does. And so they have to process, they look at all the application, they process it. And then if the tax return has any extra appendices or forms that need to be turned in, they have to, if they're not turned in, then they request them. And so then that takes longer. So when you submit your tax return, submit the entire thing and all the pieces of it, so that they have what they need. And then otherwise we'll be watching. Mary Reid and I watch. And if we see anything missing, we'll let you know. And facts will also let you know. But better to be safe and just upload everything. You can upload it. You can take pictures of it, of your document, or you can just upload the document from a PDF. And basically, we would love, we want this application to be finished when the student applications are in, so that we can meet with the scholarship committee at the same time as we're looking at accepting students. And when we send acceptances, we can also send an award, because it's no fun to get an acceptance and not know if you're going to get a scholarship. We understand that piece. So the sooner you can do the applications, the better for that. Is there anything I'm missing there?
No, I think that's good. I think that's it.
Yeah, the last thing I would just say is, when we call, I mean, money is personal. And I always say when I'm making these phone calls with my families that it's a dance. We hear from facts what they think you can afford. We talk together, and I ask you, is there anything else? What do you think you can afford? And then we take it to the scholarship committee, and the scholarship committee says, this is all we can give. And then I say, will this happen? How's this work? So it's a dance, it's a conversation. We have to, and this is the part about building a relationship right now, where we get to know each other, so that it feels not so prickly and hard to talk about. And we keep it in confidence. It's just among the committee. It's anonymous, but I have to be able to bring your family to life. So the conversation really does help when we try to go to bat for every student at the committee. And the committee is very generous, but there's only but so much money in the pot.
And I think it's probably good to mention, like, this is separate from the admissions process as well. So, we do admission separate from, need and financial stuff. But we would like to be able to give you the information for both admissions and finances at the same time. Yeah. Okay, great. And so I just put in the chat the link to our sort of getting started guide for facts. So that should hopefully give you what you need to kind of get started, and then you might have questions along the way, and we're here for that. So the next thing is the personal savings plan. And these are the pieces we ask of the students. So if you're applying for a need-based scholarship, we say, we ask that the students get involved. And we'll look at a screenshot of the personal savings plan in a second, and there was a link to it at the beginning. But we just know how we know that fundraising can be different for everybody's contexts. I want to say that first, right? Not everybody has the same community, and different backgrounds, different levels of accesses to fundraising opportunities and things like that. And we know it can feel like a drop in the bucket, but it can be a really powerful piece of the experience. And I think we've seen a lot of people be really astonished and proud by how much they've been able to do with this. So it's certainly we've seen it be very worth it. So the first thing we're going to look at is the personal savings plan template, and I'm not going to go deeply into it, but the link is there in the chat again. And so the first step, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the next step, which is this like toolkit for fundraising. But the idea is for a student to sort of make a plan. And I know some of you are starting really early, which makes me so happy. I think that's really powerful. So you can see, like, we sort of have there's a save category, an earn category, and then a fundraising category. And so you might be, maybe you're getting an extra job, and a certain percentage of that job is going to go through, you get a summer job, and a certain percentage of that summer job money goes into your earn category or save. You can see here, the example here is not getting coffee or not getting a fancy latte for 10 weeks, and kind of seeing how that adds up. I used to be an economics teacher, and these personal finance exercises were sometimes very powerful. So this is sort of something for the student to fill out, either by themselves, with parents, with me, to sort of strategize how they can sort of take ownership for a piece of this. And then the next piece, and this is a pretty big document, but it's big because it's very rich. And again, I'll put this in the chat, and it's a PDF of a toolkit that we put together and have been honing over the years that is basically helping you make some kind of plan to fundraise. Because we know that starting out is incredibly daunting, I think. I think it can be really scary to think like, okay, I'm going to raise money, but like how? And here are these things that we've seen that can really work. And there's a reason that the beginning of this whole plan is having a student really sit down and think about why they want to do this experience. Because we know that once they can sort of articulate why they want to do this, then it becomes that much more powerful. And I think rather than me giving a bunch of these sort of more general examples, we'll go ahead and skip to Jennifer, and you can talk about a couple of concrete examples.
And can I just, will you leave it here for 1 sec?
Yes.
So the actual investing in your future toolkit, this is the part that I was talking about that makes it so powerful. It's like, oh, you need to figure out, like Mary Reid said, you need to figure out why would anyone, why is it important for me to do this? What am I going to get out of it? And what am I going to bring back? What am I going to bring home? Right. And so that all these pieces are so important, and I'll say to you that it takes a little time to go through it, like Mary Reid said, but it's so worth it to think about this before you just jump in or go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask my grandparents, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a bake sale. So what I would say is, like, take a look and then really dig into who you are, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, and why you want to go to the traveling school. And I think that, again, if it feels like it's in you to ask people to help you, then there's a number of things that you can do. And if that's really awkward, then it might be different what your ideas for fundraising or earning or saving are. And it really, that's why we used to call this a fundraising toolkit, but students do things differently. And you're all, everyone's different who comes to the traveling school, and everyone has different strengths and passions. And so I think that utilizing what those are will help you when you are trying to make a plan. Okay, now you can turn. Yeah. So we have some examples. And like I said at the beginning, I've seen a ton of students fundraise. I've seen magic. And what I know is makes successful investing in your future, successful earning and savings and fundraising is a variety of options and ways, and not putting all your time into one thing. So if you look at the bottom left, this is Nell from last semester. Nell loved to bake. She also really cares about a food pantry in her town. And so she baked a ton of pies, hundreds of pies. She donated them to the food pantry. And then she had people donate to her. And it was this really beautiful kind of symbiosis where she wasn't asking, she was making them, and I think she raised $9,000. And so I think some of it is, yes, going, maybe getting a farmer's market table and maybe selling your wares, or like having a table at an event and saying, hey, I'm going to the traveling school. And you might have a sign that's an information about who you are and why you want to go and what the traveling school is. And you might just, offer a snack, but ask for a donation. Or you might tell the people that you babysit for, or you nanny for, that you are using the money to help you go to the traveling school, but let them know what the traveling school is. And they may choose to give you more. So it doesn't always have to be an overt ask. It can be subtle. And what Nell showed was, people donated to her because she was making these pies for the food bank, and because she had a GoFundMe page that was quite elaborate about what the traveling school was and why she was doing it. The student in the bottom right was an artist, and she painted cards, so they're hand painted, and she sold them on Etsy, farmers markets. So we've had students. This above here, the dinner, the South American feast, was a student who had the opportunity to have a dinner, and then she gathered her friends and family and community to come. They paid to go, and she did a presentation about the traveling school. So she charged a little bit for the tickets, and then after she had done her presentation, she got a lot of donations from other people who came. So again, I think some of these students who've done events like this, they've had access to a restaurant who said, I had a niece who, there was a little restaurant in her little town in North Carolina who offered to give a percentage of all the sales in one day to her trip. So it's like, who do you know? What stores can you put a information collection bin for cash in? I've had students who were musicians who were busking. So they were on the side in Asheville, North Carolina, playing the fiddle, and with a case open. So, it's what do you know? Who do you know? And what feels comfortable to you, right? And also building your comfort, no doubt. Hike-a-thons, letter writing. Yes, I had a niece who babysat during the holidays. She took over her community, her neighborhood pool inside community center, and put flyers up all over the neighborhood. And everyone, she gave the parents an opportunity to go Christmas shopping one night. And she took over the community center, had all the kids show up. They watched holiday movies, they made cookies, they played games. So she had a bunch of kids, and she charged one price, but then people donated. So, I could talk all day about the cool ideas, and it really is just a brainstorming. What could I do? Who do I know? Who in my community? What am I, could I do a ski-a-thon, Big Sky? Is there something I could do? Or how many times can I do laps, and off the tram or whatever it is? So incorporating your passions into your fundraising, who you are, right? Some students work after school. I know this is a big deal. I just want to speak that school is your work. We get that. And your parents are interested in helping support you to do this, but it's a lot. So we know that a teenager isn't going to make a ton of money at a job. But again, it's like, what's your goal? Can you take a little bit of that cash and put it in savings? What can you help with in terms of, what can you help your parents with in terms of a number goal? Come up with a number goal, and then think about what are the things I'm going to do to get there, and help motivate yourself by writing it down and creating that spreadsheet that Mary Reid showed, because all those things, it's amazing when you check these things off. Oh, I sent out 10 letters to my friends, family, and I don't know, old teachers, my teachers who know I'm awesome, so, and then watch it come in. So you can't just do that though. You can't just send a letter. You got to follow up. It's just like I fundraise for the traveling school. And so it's, I can send out a letter, but a letter is not enough. it's a follow-up. It's all the personal touches. And I think it's really important to realize that it does take work. Anyway, like I said, lots of ideas.
Yeah.
Pumped to talk about it with you, and pumped for you to meet students who've done this. And we will make sure that we introduce you to students who have done this in your areas, and also on a webinar. We'll bring some student fundraisers on to meet with and brainstorm with also.
Yeah, I think their voices are obviously incredibly powerful because you can hear from the people who've done it themselves. Yeah, awesome. And I think that guide gives you a lot of ideas. So, like we said, it's a little long, but it's long because it's rich. It's got a lot of good stuff in there. So
there's pictures. It'll be
there are a
fine.
lot of pictures. Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and we're gonna, these last two bits are a bit briefer. And my goal is to be done in about 5 minutes so that we can have questions and or just give you time to enjoy your evening and maybe look at some of these resources at your own leisure.
So for payment plans, we try to, so once, if you receive a scholarship, we take it away from the tuition owed, and whatever's left is, it can be paid all at once, or it can be paid over the course of the semester. And so we can break it up. But part of that conversation that we talked about earlier is, it's like, well, what works, right? So if it's too much, then we talk about what can we do to make it work for you. And so that's still part of the conversation. And so those payment plans could be stretched over the course of maybe a little longer. They might be front loaded and then, smaller monthly installments. And there also could be something that happened during the year and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can make this payment. And so again, that's the conversation. It doesn't end just because the semester's happening. If you and your student are working as hard as all this to get into the semester, we're going to make it work for you. We're going to make it work for you. And so that means that it's a conversation. So that's the biggest piece there, I would say. I think that person, you do pay through, if you don't pay it all at once with a check or on PayPal, you would pay it through fax, and they take it out of a bank account that you put aside, and then we create the plan together and agree on it. And just the last thing on that is they will let you put it on a credit card, but they charge a lot of interest. And so, I'm not suggesting that anyone do that. I always kind of look at that, and very few people do that because it just hurts. That interest piece is too much. And as Mary Reid said, the 529 plan is now, you can use it for a high school experience. It depends on the state. And it's just best to talk with your, either your investment advisor or, just checking out your state's rules about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last piece that we wanted to talk about is just the gear. You might look at the gear list at some point and see, oh gosh, we don't have this, and this, and this, and those things are expensive. And you're not wrong. Some of that stuff is pretty expensive, but we have a lot of it actually. So anything from a Crazy Creek little camp chair to a backpack to different kind of clothing items. We have gotten some donations over the years. We have some things that we can loan out. And our loans are really good quality. So it's not like, I don't know, in some programs, it can be very clear which gear is borrowed. And our gear fleet is pretty great. It's pretty nice. So everybody ends up with similar stuff, whether you bought it or you're borrowing it from us. So just like a lot of the other things we're saying, don't let this be the barrier. This is the kind of thing we can certainly talk through once things get a little bit more real. It also might be the kind of thing that somebody wants to donate to you or buy for you. So, that could be another piece of your fundraising if that's something you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we have the cute ending here. It may feel messy and hard right now, and we do get that. But it will be really worth it. We think that we believe in this incredibly strongly. Hopefully you can hear it in the way that Jennifer talks about the different students too, I think. And so for more information, I will send all those links to you again. And you can go back through the webpage with a little more, now you kind of maybe know what to look for. You can look at the FACTS application guide, look at the fundraising, the investing in your future, and start to sort of put together your plan and what might make the most sense for you and your family. And then, as we've said 5,000 times, we are here to be your partners. We really want to work with you on this. Like we love nothing more than seeing somebody who's really excited about our school, who wants to make it work. And so that's, that we're excited to be your partner here. And I am sort of the first contact for most of these things. There's definitely questions I'll have to take to Jennifer or to somebody else on staff. But if you have any other questions, you can definitely email me. I answer the admissions@traveling-school.com email, or you can call or text me, and that's my number right there. MR is me, Mary Reid. And I'm pretty good at getting back to people within a couple of days. Might be a little slower over the holidays, but I'm still going to be around and still checking things. So we can start this conversation as soon as you're ready to start it, or continue the conversation, since all of you have already started this conversation with us. Yeah. So I think what we'll do, it's been about 48 minutes. So I think what we'll do now is we'll just pause, and we'll stick around and save some time and energy for questions if anybody has it. And otherwise, thank you so much for coming. We really, really, really appreciate your time, and know it's a crazy time of year. So thanks for taking some time out to learn more about this, and to start thinking about how maybe you can make it happen for your family and your student. So we appreciate it. And if anybody has any questions, just pop in.
Hi. So obviously I'm still in 8th grade, so I won't be applying till next year, for 10th grade. But do you apply for the scholarships and stuff before you get accepted?
It's at the same time. That's a good question.
Okay.
So the student application with like recommendations and your answers and things like that is due at the same time that the financial application is due. And we sort of look at them at the same times, but on separate tracks. So there's an admissions committee that looks at like the quality of your application. And then there's a separate committee that talks about finances. So while you would get the admissions and finance information, hopefully at the same time, they're not actually necessarily connected to each other directly. Like we do need blind admissions.
And I would also say that, yeah, even if you haven't applied and gotten accepted, fundraise, start your fundraising, create your plan, figure out, even if it's just creating your plan and going, okay, this is next year, but I got 2 summers to do something, right? And follow up with us, let us connect you to people in Bozeman, a ton of them. I know you're in Big Sky, but it's not that far. But we have people everywhere that have raised a ton of money and done some really neat things. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you have that time, use it to your benefit, and just that matters to the committee also, that students work and think about and focus on, hey, I'm going to have this goal. I'm going to raise some money. I've got this spreadsheet. That matters to them, the scholarship committee. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, Lee.
Hi, everyone. I'm wondering, so with that algorithm for the facts, like, how does it factor in? You know, we're looking at junior year, right? Sending twins. And I understand, like, maybe it's just part of the conversation you have after the equation pops
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But I guess I just don't understand. Like, it makes sense to me if you're applying for financial aid for college, like you've amassed whatever it is you're able to save as a family, and then maybe you know where you're going to school for college and you know how much all that costs. But I guess I feel like that's that huge wild card.
Mhm.
And so I don't understand how that works for this situation, you know, because to me, it seems like if there's not some algorithm piece that I'm missing, it's treating it like you have all this money for this semester, but then they get back and a year later, that's when, you know what I mean? Like in terms of using the 529 plans, not a clear question, but that's sort of like that wild card in the back of my head. How does this?
Well, I don't, yeah, so I heard the 529 at the end, but the first thing that you said made me think also, you know, we've never had a family with two students applying to the same year, but I mean, you would need to put in there that it's, you know, you're applying for two so that they would see that amount is double.
Yeah.
Right? The tuition amount is double. So, I mean, I think that'd be totally worth us following up with facts about. And I hear you about the 529. I mean, it's taking away from college by doing it. It doesn't mean you have to use it all. It might be that you use some of it, and it might be that you choose not to use it. Everyone doesn't. It's one of those pieces that you have to decide, and that's part of the walk. I mean, the algorithm stumps me. I'll tell you that. It's like, I hate to say, I shouldn't say this because we're recorded, but it's so hard. And that's why I've always had to call I call you, like, tell me what's going on for you. Tell me what you think we have to have, it's got to be based on something. We have to look at these things so that we can compare families to some extent. But I also I just want to talk to you. I want to know, I want to be able to represent you well in that committee, because two students going to a semester is a lot of money, right? And yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I've answered your question, but it's hard. It's just a case by case basis, and we also have to look at the amount of money we have available also, right? So then we have to see, well, how many people are applying, and what do their applications look like, and what are their family stories? It's all those pieces.
That makes sense. Thank you. My other quick question is, when you do the payment plan, is there an added fee? Because it always blows me away where it's like, you pay it all in one lump sum. It's just the lump sum. But if you put in the payment plan, sometimes there's like additional costs. And I'm always like, well, if I could pay it in one payment, I would. You know, it's like penalizing, you know, those families that have to draw it out.
Yeah. I think it's not very, it's like, it's $40. It's gone up just slightly, but there is there's a $45, or I think there's an application fee of 30, one's 38 and one, you know, so there is a fee, but it's not humongous.
I think it might be in that document. I don't want to open it right now, or my Zoom screens will all explode.
Okay.
But yeah, but I believe it's a one-time fee rather than like a percentage.
Okay, great.
And it's not insane. It's not nothing, but it's not. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's a good question. I totally understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I don't have any questions. I'll
All
look at all the resources, and then if
Awesome.
I have questions, I'll reach out.
Great.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Happy
Bye,
holidays.
Lee.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, Lee. All right.